Netflix has a brand new horror comedy action film that came out last Friday, and we're going to talk about it right now. Hey, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all doing well out there. Today we're going to talk about Netflix's new Jamie Foxx starring vehicle. But before we do that, like, comment, subscribe. Join me here. Great, would appreciate that. Today we're going to talk about Day Shift. Day Shift just dropped on Friday, August 12th. It's rated R. It's an hour and 53 minutes long. And this was directed by J.J. Perry. J.J. Perry has never directed a feature-length film on his own. He was always a second unit director. He did second unit directing for the Fast and Furious films, amongst many other credits to his name. Now, this was also produced by Chad Stahelski, who's been directing John Wick 2, 3, the new one 4. He also produced Nobody, which is a really cool movie starring Bob Odenkirk. If you've never seen that one, check it out. It's a kick-ass little R-rated piece of slice of heaven. And they dipped their toe into vampire territory here. We got Jamie Foxx starring as Bud Jablonski. We got Dave Franco playing Seth. He works for this union. We'll talk about that in a second. Megan Good plays Jamie Foxx's wife in the film. The great Scott Adkins is in this film as one of the Nazarene brothers, and they have a kick-ass scene in this film. We'll talk about it. We got Snoop Dogg as Big John. He is a vampire hunter as well. And Peter Stormare shows up in a role as like this pawn shop owner who is aware of the vampire stuff going on and will buy vampire teeth that are worth money in this film. And right away we're introduced to Bud, and he portrays himself as a pool cleaner. But what he actually is a vampire hunter. And right in the beginning of the film, he goes to this house in broad daylight, Day Shift, and gets into the house and kills 2 vampires, takes their teeth for money, and walks out and goes home. And we see him going through a process. He puts his yellow powder on his body and showers and gets cleaned up. He picks his daughter up from school, and we get to learn about his personal life. He's divorced from his wife. His wife and his daughter live in their old house. He's living in a shitty apartment that kind of looks like the apartment from Karate Kid. I know it's not, but it kind of gives that vibe. And his wife is not aware of what he does for a living. She does think he cleans pools for a living. And he's a good relationship with his daughter, not a standoffish relationship with his ex-wife, although she still loves him, but she thinks he's lying to her and doesn't tell her everything that's going on, which is kind of true. And we get to meet our big bad, who's a real estate mogul in LA, and she's buying up all this property, and she wants to bring vampires back to the forefront because they once ruled this land before humans came in and took over and killed off most of the vampires. And we find out that Bud used to be in this vampire union, and he needs a lot of money. His wife's talking about moving to Florida with their daughter, moving with her mother, and he wants them to stay because his job is there. He can't leave, and he doesn't want her taking off for Florida. So they need money for rent, they need money for school, and they need money for braces, and he needs to come up with $10,000 in 5 days. So he goes out and starts hunting vampires, and he realizes he has to turn back to the union. He got kicked out of the union for breaking rules, and basically he talks Big John, Snoop Dogg, into trying to get him back in, which begrudgingly the leader of the union lets him back in but gives him a ton of shit and sends Dave Franco's character Seth off with him as an observer and tells him that he's on probation, and if he breaks any rules, he's out of the union for good. And so we get kind of a buddy buddy vampire slaying, although Seth has never been out of the office. He's squeamish around guns, squeamish around vampires. He's kind of a pussy at first. But we like him, and him and Jamie Foxx, Dave Franco and Jamie Foxx have good chemistry. And Jamie Foxx's character is trying to make as much money as possible, and they come upon this house, and this is where we meet the Nazarene brothers. They show up, and they're kind of legends in this business. Like they've been working together for a long time, and we get this kick-ass action scene in this house where there's kind of a hive of vampires, and Seth has to go in with a gun with Bud and the Nazarene brothers because they decide to split the hole they'll take from this nest. And it's a great action scene. It really is. It's exciting. It's done practically. There is some CGI augmentation with some of the special makeup effects, but all the action itself is done practically from what I could tell. And it's a kick-ass scene. Scott Adkins is great here. So is the guy playing his brother. So is Jamie Foxx and Dave Franco. And basically, towards the end of the film, the head vampirist takes his wife and daughter hostage because she realizes that he's the one that killed her daughter in the beginning of the film, and she wants vengeance, and she turns Dave Franco into a vampire. They go in with Big John to this big vampire. Underneath this building is where they have this altar, or this temple, and we have our final action scene. They kill the threat and save the day, and that is basically Day Shift. What to like about this film? I was surprised by this film. I like Jamie Foxx as an actor, and he's really good here, and he gives it his all. Dave Franco's good here, basically he's Dave Franco in every film, and he's no different here, but he has good chemistry with Jamie Foxx, and I like his character. All the acting is really good here. The action is well shot, as you would expect from somebody who's been shooting action for such a long time, and being produced by the guy behind John Wick. So the action is well choreographed, it's well shot, you can see what's going on, it kicks ass, it's hard R, definitely. The makeup effects on the vampires looks cool, the CGI, not so much, but I'm not a big proponent of CGI, especially on when you can use makeup effects. But the makeup effects look kick-ass when they're on screen. The CGI, not so much. But the action itself is done practically. There's some cool car chases. There's some cool practical stunt work. There's wire work, obviously, in this film, you could tell. But it's all done in a way that you can tell what's going on. The geography is set up, and you can tell what is going on screen. It's not quick cut to the point where it's indecipherable. So I got to give it props there. And on that alone, the movie is enjoyable. It's a breeze to get through pretty much at an hour and 53 minutes long. Although I will say, one of my negatives, I think about 5 to 10 minutes could have been shaved off this film. I don't think there's enough of a story here. Although they do set up the Union and the workings of that, and the rules and the 5 different kinds of vampire class. Does this movie reinvent the wheel? No. This movie does not present anything new to the vampire lore. It doesn't do anything different. It's not a mind-blowing experience at the end of the day, so I can't say it's like a transformational horror action comedy film. Matter of fact, I would say the horror is really nowhere to be found, although it is, you could say it's an action horror comedy hybrid. But besides the vampires getting killed and the gore with that, there's no scary moments, there's no suspense in that category. I can't say it. It's more of just a brightly lit, kick-ass action horror comedy, and on those 3 things, it succeeds. This is basically a cross between Blade, John Carpenter's Vampires, and the Fright Night remake. If I had to break it down into 3 films, I would say it's an amalgamation of all those. There's nothing new here. It's all rules we've seen before. It's not groundbreaking, but what it sets out to do, give you a kick-ass, hard R action comedy film. It succeeds on those levels, and that baseline, I enjoyed myself. I had a good time. They referenced Lost Boys a few times during the film, especially at the end. Snoop Dogg's character, Big John, says, "One thing I love about LA is all the damn vampires," which Grandpa said a variation of that at the end of the Lost Boys. At the end of the day, I enjoyed myself a lot more than I thought I was going to. I would give this film an 8 out of 10. It's a solid action movie that you can have a good time with. Has a great cast. Everybody is game here. There's some cool effects. The action's well shot, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. I really freaking did. I had a smile on my face. I think it's a little long. I think 5 to 10 minutes could have been shaved off, but at the end of the day, I really enjoyed this film. It's a good time. It's a good watch, fun movie to sit down and watch, and it doesn't take itself too seriously. So yeah, at the end of the day, I give Day Shift an 8 out of 10. Have you watched this film yet? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe button, share this video. I would appreciate that. I will be back soon with a review for Halloween H2O. We're going to talk about that damn mask situation. But until then, bye.